Welcome back to another episode of the MBP Movie Podcast. As always, I'm joined by my brother Dan. Dan, how are you?
I am very good, thank you.
Good. I should probably start saying my name's Bob, aka Stephen, shouldn't I, at the start of the podcast, but I never introduced myself.
I think Adam might have confused everybody with the Bob Stephen thing.
Yeah. And
God, I was confused for a while.
I was just about to introduce you then. As you can hear, we have a semi-regular guest, Ryan Huelsman. Ryan, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good, fellas. Hope you guys are well.
I feel like we need to give you a title.
Semi-regular.
No, like
I like the semi-regular guest or something. I don't know.
You know, like I'm the international correspondent on.
How about I'm your international correspondent?
Yeah. Well, we've got Adam as well, so we'll have two. Can we have two international correspondents?
Or the Adam can be the Canadian correspondent. I'll be the American correspondent.
Yes, there we go. We're joined by our American correspondent. And whereabouts in America are you from?
I'm from Cleveland, Ohio.
All right. Mm-hmm. I only know things like that because of wrestling. So I'll just pretend to know what you're about. Oh yeah, Cleveland. Oh yeah.
I used to be into wrestling.
So normally at the start we do I go around and usually ask what everyone's been watching, but I just want to get Ryan's thoughts on Endgame because you want on our Endgame episode. So do you want to give us a sort of semi-quick reaction and then just give us a rating out of 10?
Oh God, to do it quick, crap.
Tell everyone how many times you've seen it.
I have seen Endgame. We're recording on May 5th, so I've seen Endgame 4 times, and I still got a couple more before I can probably slow down a little bit.
What's your record of seeing a film?
My record is Justice League with 10.
Cool. Are you gonna break it, or are you just?
I might try. Because Endgame is struggling financially, so it needs all the help it can get.
Do you know what my record is, Ryan?
What?
Twice.
That's my mom's record too.
My record's three times, I think. I don't think I've seen anything more than 3 times. I think 3.
I've seen a movie more than 3 times, just not one at not at the cinema.
Well, I thought we kind of established that, but never mind. So, Ryan,
once you see a movie once, you're not even going to buy it on Blu-ray. I've seen it, so I don't need to watch it again.
Depends if it's rubbish or not.
I used to actually have a friend who, if she saw a movie with me, she would not go see it with her boyfriend because she was a strict, firm believer in only once at the theaters. So if she saw something with me, I would ruin it for her. Okay, guess that's why I don't talk to her anymore.
Depends what it is. Maybe it was glad on some occasions.
What about those people that say, if you've seen it once, that's enough? It's like, what?
No, because a lot of movies you pick up on new things.
See, I watch at least once a year. Jaws, Back to the Future, Superman the movie, RoboCop, and Halloween. I must watch them at least once a year.
That's good. At least you keep it in somewhat regular rotation.
And that's not even including Christmas movies, which you'll no doubt watch them at
Christmas
least.
movies.
Batman Returns, that Christmas movie. Okay.
So anyway, sorry, Ryan.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
What do you think?
God, I'm trying to do it as quick as possible, considering I ramble. I think it is the perfect accumulation of all 21, 22 movies that have come before. Marvel is not the first to do a cinematic universe. I don't know if people know that. They've just been the most financially successful with it, and emotionally, having emotional resonance and moments like what we saw in Avengers. If I would consider it a masterpiece, and I do think it is. The year isn't even halfway over, and I would all the rumors of Marvel trying to push for Best Picture nomination for this. I hope that comes true, because I think it definitely does deserve, that kind of recognition.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably shot up all the way to my favorite film. And, and like we explained when we did the Shazam episode, my list of movies and how I do that, that's always constantly in flux. But I think I'm going to be keeping Endgame up there. I would give it easily 10 out of 10. I think it's a masterpiece. If I had to think of any complaint, it would be, I think I agree with certain people who might say that the Russos, I can go into a little bit of spoiler, right? Here.
Oh yeah, we're spoiling the hell of it.
Okay, okay, all right. I just want to make sure.
I'll tell you what, I'll just do it now officially, right? From this point forward in this episode, there will be Endgame spoilers.
Spoilers.
There you go.
Okay.
That'll cover our 5 listeners.
I I agree with some people who say that they think the Russos and with Endgame maybe didn't do that great of a job explaining their rules of time travel. Because the whole exposition with Hulk went by way too fast. And I think it was a very bare bones discussion, explanation for how things can work. Now, after it's not like reading interviews and talking with other people, I think I get it.
I think the problem with time travel is no matter what explanation you come up with, somebody will say that don't make sense. Because let's be honest, time travel is never going to happen because it's not possible. So there's always going to be.
And of course, I've been just so hardwired into like the Back to the Future kind of time travel to have something that goes in the complete opposite of that was a little hard for me to understand.
I'll be honest with you, Ryan. I don't know if I remember what they said or if I got it. To be honest,
the best explanation that I can, with all the interviews and like I said, talking with people on Twitter and whatnot, the best explanation I can kind of piece together myself is that the mainline MCU timeline from Iron Man to Endgame is intact. It's just that there are now, branching realities because of all the, in one of the timelines, Loki gets the Tesseract and escapes. I don't know how they can pretty much clearly setting up the Loki series for Disney Plus.
Yeah, probably. I thought about that.
I just think it was a very weird explanation for setting up a multiverse. I think that's how I kind of interpret Endgame, is that it's starting to maybe possibly set up a cinematic Marvel multiverse because of all the different timelines. Because from what I was able to understand, old Cap, Steve, when he went back to put all the stones back, and then he went and decided to live a life with Peggy, that created a branching timeline. But Cap came back to the original timeline.
Yeah, I had that explanation.
To give the shield to Sam. So Cap was hopping around somewhat of a multiverse. Something resembling. So at least that's how I personally have been seeing it. So
fair enough. So right then, Dan, have you been watching out? You want to talk about Game of Thrones? Just spoil it for everyone.
Yes, Game of Thrones
has
been excellent, and no, I wouldn't like to spoil it for anybody who hasn't seen it, because obviously there'll be people out there that they might not even start watching it. And for me, if you ever want to start watching it now, because you can watch it all in one go, and it's going to be amazing. Sorry, just going back to what you were saying, Ryan, you were on about other. You said Marvel aren't the first to do a cinematic universe. Are you talking Universal, like The Mummy and things like that?
I say that Universal with their, Dracula, Frankenstein, Mummy, Creature from the Black, that, even though they weren't, there was not much overlap when it came to the movies. There was some, but not always.
Oh, yeah.
But I actually while I say that Universal was the first, I think Toho over in Japan with Godzilla, that was the first successful, yes, where there would be solo movies and then, a big quote unquote team ups, if you will.
Yeah. Cool.
Hey Dan, I just remember Freddy vs. Jason's kind of a multiverse thing. Think about it. If you want to get technical. Right then, from there, let's move on to news and chit chat then. So we got the first trailer for Sonic the Hedgehog, and there's been a lot of obviously controversy about this, including fan uproar to the point where they're actually going to go back in and re-edit the way Sonic looks, apparently. What did you guys think of the trailer?
I thought the trailer looked. I saw the picture first, and I watched the trailer, and I think when you take a still image, sometimes it can look worse than a moving image, and I didn't think it looked that bad. But I think what they've tried to do with Sonic is make him look a bit more realistic, and I think that's what's kind of throwing people off. Because I've seen some versions that people have done, I'm like, actually, yeah, that does look a lot more like Sonic. So I think his eyes need to be a bit wider. But I mean, I didn't watch it and think, oh my god, that looks awful.
I didn't even think about it.
I think if, I'm just thinking from the terms of people weren't happy with it. So I think his eyes need to be wider. His body needs to be what's the opposite? Less long, basically.
the one a bit long, wasn't it?
So yeah, I'm not that bothered.
Ostrich legs.
The only thing I thought was he didn't look as good as Pikachu looks in the trailers for Detective Pikachu.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
That was the only thing I commented on.
Taking out the Sonic look, what did you think of the trailer and stuff?
I think it looks watchable. I don't know if I'd go to cinema to see it, but if it were on Sky and Lila wanted to watch a movie, I'd be like, yeah, let's put it on. That's my take on it.
Yeah. Ryan, you got any quick thoughts on
Sonic? Now that it's been a week since that trailer came out, and
I think it was Tuesday, wasn't it? So it's pretty
all hell broke loose on the internet because of it. Because suddenly Sonic became a super important, dead serious pop culture phenomenon all over again. I kind of agree with they were trying to make him look too realistic, and I think what Detective Pikachu, they're going for quote unquote realism, but they're taking pretty much the original designs and just trying to make them like 3D photorealistic in our world, whereas they tried to humanize Sonic. And I get the whole let the directors and creatives tell their story, their vision. But then at the same time, I did see that one Photoshop of someone that they put the the two shots side by side, and the one that's more cartoon video game accurate. I was like, damn it, that actually does look better. I would love to know what went on behind the scenes, because I would love to know if any of the animators or people working in the effects department tried to say something to the director, or they tried to have some input, because now they're having to go back, and before November, I think that's when it's coming out, November, they're gonna have to redesign and redo the main character of the movie.
It does seem short, doesn't it, for the time that it's coming out to redo it? Seems a bit.
I think it might not be as hard as you think, because what they could probably do is the avatar that is the Sonic character, that they probably can do something where they just recreate it, but it still keeps the movements and stuff. That's what I would.
Yeah, possibly. It'd be a 3D model, I suppose.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah, maybe the avatar wasn't right.
I just don't know. If you changed the 3D model, I mean, I don't know much about 3D modeling, but I would say that could have an effect on other things, the way it moves and stuff. So could mess a lot of things up. Imagine doing that in a video game. It's the same sort of thing, isn't it? I guess.
Yeah, but Dan, think about it, right? Say me and you edit one of our films, and we have to.
Are we comparing ourselves to Hollywood here?
No.
Yes, you are working.
If we had like a whole weekend to actually just sit and do nothing but play with some effects, it probably won't take that much for us to do it, and they've probably got a team of effects people who can go in and just do it.
Well, we'll find out, won't we?
Well, yeah. So
can't wait for the second trailer.
I didn't think it looked very good to me. I were getting Super Mario vibes, to be quite honest. But
how bad?
Jim Carrey. I mean, I love Jim Carrey, but it was just a bit too. I don't know.
If I'm gonna go see this in theaters, Jim Carrey as Robotnik is gonna be the reason I'm seeing it.
Yeah.
I'm not writing it off, but I don't think I'm going to see it. I think I'll probably watch it on television or something. It's not really on my radar, I'll put it that way. So this next bit of news, I'm more doing it because I read it and I'm like, is this actually a real sentence, right? So, ready for this one? You ready? Pray yourselves, right? Jaden Smith has been cast as a young Kanye West in Showtime's upcoming anthology series where each episode will focus on a different Kanye West from an alternate reality. And that I'm so
done with Kanye.
But just just think about that sentence, right? Who is asking for a TV show about alternate reality Kanye West?
Who asked for the Kanye West multiverse TV show?
But at the same time, you don't think it could be kind of hilarious if it's done for laughs?
I hope it's done for laughs. I hope that they're not doing this seriously. Hell,
when I read it, I literally had to check the calendars. Yeah. So it wasn't April the 1st. But it was on the Hollywood Reporter, so it's a real thing. Did you guys not know about this?
No.
Yeah, I remember reading about it. Yeah, WTF, what the hell?
I was hoping Dan didn't know, because I thought it would have been absolutely hilarious to read out on the show. So what? Just give me your thoughts on the Kanye West multiverse.
I think my laugh says how I feel.
See, I think this won the week. This is the biggest news of the week for me.
I think we should just stop the podcast here. Let's not do it.
You guys need to reboot the podcast and have it only cover the Kanye West multiverse.
Oh, God. So there's been a small.
You are being serious, aren't you? Not winding me up.
I'm not making it up, bro. Do you want me to send you the tweet? I'll send you the tweet.
No, it's all right. Yeah.
So moving on to a small tidbit of news about the Batman. No, Kanye West not been casting that, don't worry.
Kanye West as Bruce Wayne.
That's one of the multiverses.
And Jaden did dress up as Batman once, so it all works out.
It all comes full circle. So the small Batman update came from Justin Kroll, which I think he got for Variety. It was just basically that the script is still being polished, which it seems like it's taking a century to do. And there's a possibility shooting begins in 2020 instead of fall 2019, so it's been pushed back.
Do you think when they say a script is being polished, do you kind of get a bit worried that it's kind of going on? Because, I mean, I don't know when this should be finished.
Here's what I was just going to ask you. Where do you guys stand on the of this film actually happening with Matt Reeves? Because I'm at the point where I'm starting to think I'm going to believe it when I see it, like The Flash, where I think it's never going to come.
Go on, Ryan.
So, okay. I have a little bit of a hot take here. It'll piss some people off probably.
Stop him, bro. Stop him now.
I fully understand the whole mindset of let them take their time to get it right. We'd rather have it right than rushed. Having said that, it's been about 2-3 years. And I'm not getting any younger. I do not understand for the life of me why it's taking this long. Why it's a Batman story. The comics people are able to do it in a hell of a lot shorter time. So I don't know why it's, taking 2.5, almost 3 years to get this thing started. So I do think I think we're going to get Batman more likely than the Flash.
I think that's right. Yeah,
but just I don't know. I'm just kind of like I'll be happy when it finally does come out, but it shouldn't be taking this long. What the heck is going on?
I'm kind of to the point now where I'm kind of done with it, and I'm like, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, I'm not going to lose any sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? And I think basically for me with like, I'm with you a little bit, and the people, you know, accusing people of being impatient and stuff. But like you said, what takes so long to do it?
Exactly.
It just doesn't make any sense to me, and I just have this feeling there's something going on behind the scenes that we're not quite hearing about that's delaying it, that isn't actually to do with the script.
That's totally my worry, because like you were saying, Ryan, you know, give them time to do something and get it right, but sometimes it's just that little, you know, thought in your head that thinks, well, wait a minute, this has been going on for a few years now. What's the
and like for the first year that's like he was brought on in January, February of 17. Planet of the Apes came out in July, so I get it. The first 6 months he had the gig, you know, he's focusing on something else.
Yeah.
Then he'd want to take maybe a couple months off because, you know, just coming off of one blockbuster wants to. I get that, but then it's when you add another year and then another year onto that. I don't know. And before people out there, you know, I'm sure that some people who are just defending whatever the heck is going on and not being critical at all. Oh, you don't understand how movies are made. Well, I do. I do. Yeah. I did go to film school. I only did a year, but I went to film school. I love watching behind the scenes stuff on DVDs and Blu-rays. I love reading the books and articles about stuff. Yeah. A Batman movie should not be taking 3 years of pre-production.
No. And I think as well, like, I get the stance, you know, of those people that do trust Matt Reeves and do think it'll happen, but I don't trust Warner Brothers. And again, that's not. They're a very successful film studio. You know what I mean? They obviously know what they're doing, but when it comes to comic book movies, they seem to constantly be making these little errors and, you know, decisions that make you sort of scratch your head. And I just think, for me, again, I'm wondering if there's something going on with Warner Brothers. Maybe their visions don't quite line up between the director and the.
Well, you know, because I'm sure Warner Brothers would like to keep the. Yes, not focused on a shared universe, but they would want to keep stuff in continuity.
Yeah, maybe.
And maybe, and who knows? Maybe Matt Reeves is. I'm not gonna say the bad guy here because, you know, he could tell a fantastic Batman story that's not connected to the DCEU at all. But I personally would prefer it to be.
I would, but I'm not. I won't sleep if it wasn't or anything.
Yeah, me. It's like how I pretty much kind of said the same thing about Aquaman. Would I love there to be more overt references other than a Steppenwolf name drop? Yes, I would have.
But I would have thought that was there.
I was too. I wish there would have been more connections. Maybe not to the extent that Shazam had, but. You know, if there had not even been the Steppenwolf name drop at all in Aquaman, I still would have loved the movie because I did.
Sorry, did you say something, Dan, before, by the way? I didn't. Sort of urgent background.
Yeah, I can't what I was going to say. I forgot.
All right.
You know me.
So, in keeping with Batman, this is just a quick little tidbit. Jared Leto basically just said he'd definitely play the Joker again if he got the chance, and depends on the scripts and, you know, the circumstances, as it always does, he said. So, what do you guys think of just those comments, and would you welcome Leto back?
I was what I was going to say. I was just going to say it's a shame after Aquaman that there seems to be no momentum from the DC side, because Aquaman was a big hit, and you're thinking right now this is where you start churning your movies out. And
yeah, but I think you got to remember, bro, that it takes a long time, doesn't it, to make a film, and.
No, I know, but in terms of Batman,
Shazam came out
on. Well, yeah.
And then
that's another one that's been a hit for him. So you think they'd want to keep rolling them out, but then Batman just getting stuck. Superman doesn't seem to be moving anywhere.
Well, I think they're going to wait to get Batman right before they go back to Superman. My opinion, but anyway, did you? So what I said about the Jared Leto thing? What do you think about possibility of him coming back and etc.?
I liked his performance in Suicide Squad. I'm very vocal about how I think the tattoos were incredibly stupid and over the top.
I'll just get rid of him. What if you can explain?
Yeah, but performance-wise, I really liked Leto, and all I'm going to say is that if he does come back, I would love to see what he could do with more material. Whether it's in a Suicide Squad 2, or if they can work him into the Batman somehow.
Or a Joker Harley or something.
Yes, something. I would love to see him as. I would be on board with him coming back. I've got no issues with Leto. I'm looking forward to him as Morbius. So.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I really like Venom, so I'm excited to see what they do with that.
I loved Venom. I loved Venom so much.
So, Dan, what do you think of Jared Leto coming back as a Joker, possibly?
Well, I told you before, didn't I? felt it was a little bit too cold for me, his version of Joker, so I don't know. Okay. I'm kind of like, whatever. See what happens.
I'm a bit in between this performance in Suicide Squad. I think there are moments that are good, but I think there are moments that are not, but I don't blame him. I sort of blame the direction and the script. I think it could be a fantastic Joker with the right material, basically. And we know a lot of his stuff got left on cutting room floor, so we don't know if that was the better stuff. So, last bit of news then. Cobra Kai has been renewed for a third season, which I think is fantastic news. I haven't watched season 2 yet. I don't know, Ryan, if you have watched Cobra Kai at all. Or...
I have not even seen any of the Karate Kid movies, so I'll set this segment out.
Gentlemen, this is Ryan's last episode of...
Oh my God. I had a good run. It was Karate Kid that kicked me out.
It feels apt, doesn't it, that you got kicked out by the Karate Kid? So, Dan, what do you think of...
I still not watched it, but just while you're on that, I saw a tweet that said they were going to make them free to watch.
Oh, really?
Now, I don't know if it was true, because it was just some random tweet of some guy I've never heard of, but I just saw it on something. Somebody must have liked it, and it came up on my timeline, yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, if it does, you need to watch, because season 1 were fantastic.
Yeah, well, what I might do is wait. If they're going to make it, I keep thinking I'll wait for another season, then I'll sign up for the free trial of YouTube, whatever it's called.
YouTube Red or something, whatever it is.
Is it called YouTube Red?
Yeah, I think so. You can get 30 days, I think.
Yeah, so you get 30 days and just watch it over.
So you'd be able to watch the first 2 seasons, wouldn't you?
Yeah, so I'll do that eventually. I've got that much to watch, though, at the minute. I can't keep up.
Ryan, I think what we should do is, we should do the Karate Kid and you can watch it, and you can be our first time experience, like watching it as like an older person. So it'd be interesting, because we watched it as kids.
I will say, Ryan, though, if you don't like it, just don't do that episode. I'll never have you on again.
Ryan, I call the shots on this show, so you don't have to worry. I'll have you on again.
Try and record it without me.
Yeah, he's got me there.
Wow.
I just swore as well.
Wow.
Bleep, bleep, bleep.
Okay. I'll watch the movie at some point. Okay.
You might not think it's that good, to be honest, anymore.
Before we move on to Iron Man, I just want to report something sad that Peter Mayhew, who played Chewbacca in Star Wars, died earlier this week, and was really sad news. And I just wanted to say from MBP Movie Podcast, just condolences to his family, and it was sad to hear.
Mm-hmm.
But he's had a good run, I'd say. 74. He's popular. He's known for one of the most iconic roles.
He was really tall as well, wasn't he? Because I said to my wife that for him to... You say 79 he was, sorry?
74.
74. To last into his 70s when he was so big, that's, I think, quite unusual. You can correct me on that, but I generally think people who are so
it's
tall...
quite a big thing. I mean, I know with, like, Andre the Giant, and, I mean, he was a lot... I think he might have been a lot bigger, but, guys like that, they have this this hormone that makes them keep growing. I think you can have an operation to stop it, actually, but he didn't live too long, did he? Like in terms of having a long life or anything. So I think it's one of those things. So yeah, that's sad news. I didn't want to really bring the podcast down, but just to pass on condolences to his family and stuff.
Totally.
So yeah. So right, topic of discussion: Iron Man. The one that started it all. Now, I want to go first. I want you to try and cast your minds back to when it first came out. And then I want to cast your mind a tiny bit further back to just before it came out. And can you both just tell me what you thought about the film before you saw it? What did you think about the trailer and Robert Downey Jr.? Did you have any thoughts on him being cast and stuff before you actually saw it back in 2008?
God, I don't even know if I can remember that far back. I was going to ask you, did we go to the cinema to see it together? Because I can't.
I went to see this twice, and I went one time with Philip, and I don't know who went with the other time, so I might have gone with you.
That's so. Remembering the trailer and him being cast as Iron Man, I can't really think. But I've always liked Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
Even before he did Iron Man, I liked him in like Weird Science.
Yeah. And he was in U.S. Marshals as well, wasn't
he? Yeah, I've seen him in a few other things, and I've always really liked him. So he was. That was the thing that I saw him in most. Yeah, Ally McBeal. He was really good in that as well. So always thought he was a good actor. So I can imagine at the time when I found out,
he was in the Ally McBeal TV show.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
had no idea.
Yeah.
It was one of those. It wasn't regular. I think he had like a part, didn't he, where he came in for
like a season,
half a season or a season.
Okay.
I think John Bon Jovi replaced him, but I don't know if he replaced the character or if he just replaced him in terms of the love interest on the show.
I'd like to think they changed the character, wouldn't they? Rather
because they don't look anything like that. Robert Bon Jovi. So Ryan, what did you ever? Can you remember that far back? Like what?
It's a little hazy. I had never even knew who Iron Man was. May have seen him. May have seen the character when I would go to like a comic shop, and I just never knew who it was or anything. The only thing Robert Downey Jr. wise I had seen before Iron Man was his Charlie Chaplin movie.
Oh yeah.
And I remember really liking that movie and really liking him in it, but I just never got around to seeing anything else he had been in. Yeah. And then, that first trailer with the Black Sabbath song.
Yeah.
I remember turning to my dad when we saw that in theaters, because I think that debuted in front of the first Transformers, and thinking, who is this character? That looks awesome. That suit looks awesome. This looks like a lot of fun. And then my dad was just because my dad is more Marvel, a hell of a lot more Marvel than DC when he was a kid. So he just loved telling me about the character and whatnot. And I saw the movie probably twice in theaters.
It's not very much for you.
I know it's like I'm not even trying.
Did you not like it? Is that what it was, right?
No, it was still during a time when I didn't really go to movies by myself. Now I tell people I'm going to go see this movie. Oh, who are you going with? Oh, by myself. Well, isn't that no? I prefer going by myself sometimes.
So before we say what we thought of it back then, I was just going to say. When I first heard of it, the movie, I heard it when it was going to be directed by Steven Spielberg with Tom Cruise as Iron Man. I remember thinking, what, really? Which I actually look back now and I think that probably would have been a pretty good film, but it wouldn't have kick-started a multiverse a cinematic universe like this did. So I'm glad that didn't happen. I remember when Robert Downey Jr. was cast and I was a bit like, really? It was almost like at the time I couldn't picture him as Iron Man, and then I think I saw some like stills of him in the suit. Like on a street, and I thought, whoa, he actually looks really like him, because I knew Iron Man from the Iron Man cartoon as a kid. And then when I first saw the trailer, I was like, oh my god, this looks fantastic. And this was the year The Dark Knight came out as well, and it was like, and The Incredible Hulk, and for me, those were like three fantastic comic movies, and it was
2008 was a good move. Was a good.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. Yeah. So I remember at the time thinking, God, this is This looks really good, It seems to have nailed it. And at the time, obviously, didn't know they were going to be building this massive Marvel Cinematic Universe that would become what it is now. But... Did
you guys stay for the post-credits?
I didn't know. You know what? The first time I didn't. It was that when I saw it the second time.
Yeah. Oh my! I remember having that discussion with a classmate of mine where, movie ends. I am Iron Man. Dad and I get up and walk out. I go to school because I saw that on a Friday. I go to school the following Monday, and someone was like, "Did you see the post-credit scene?" I was like, "Wait, there's something at the end of the movie," and that's why we went and saw it again.
Well, don't spoil what it is, even though everyone's seen it. We'll talk about that in the actual film.
I was going to say, because Ryan touched on it, that I knew who Iron Man was. I don't know. I think I might have read a comic, but I knew the cartoon as well.
Yeah,
and I don't mean the animated movie. I don't know if that came later, but
this
about
was
the original.
Right, the one you're on about. You used to watch it on it was called like Marvel's Power Hour, and you had Iron Man, The Incredible Hulk and the Fantastic Four, all those 3 cartoons, needs to show them for like 1 hour every day.
Are you talking about the 90s cartoons?
Yes, the 90s cartoons, yeah. So that's how I knew. And I think Iron Man had been in Spider-Man as well, so I knew him from that.
Yeah.
During the 90s, yeah. So like things like that. And I'll just say now, when I first saw it, I loved it that much. I went to see it a second time, so... So did you guys like it straight away first time you guys saw it as well?
Oh yeah, definitely.
I think we're not going to hide that we all love this movie, are
we? Man, I think Iron Man sucked.
So watching it again like now, and have you guys watched it post Endgame? Like, have you watched it this week or anything?
Yeah, I watched it.
Yeah. What do you feel like about
I actually have it playing on my TV right now, muted.
I don't think, even after watching Endgame, it diminishes this movie at all. I think this is a superb movie. Yeah. Every time I watch it, I think the same thing. It's absolutely brilliant.
It's fantastic, isn't it?
If this don't work, this movie, the whole franchise is dead.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But they put Downey Jr. in it. And I actually watched his screen test on the extras on iTunes, and boy, he's good there. So
yeah, he just is Tony Stark, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I won't do a whole like, what do we think of Downey Jr.'s Iron Man? Because I think we all like agree that he's never put a foot wrong in the role, has he? Do you know what I mean?
It's one of them, though, isn't it? Where you basically you're at that point now where Tony Stark. In my lifetime, I do not expect to see another Tony Stark. I'm not saying it won't happen. But I think it's going to be a very long time.
No one's going to. I don't.
You might get another Iron Man, but not Tony Stark.
I think he's fallen. He's gone into there's that category of those actors that are synonymous with the characters, and obviously the first thing that comes to mind is Christopher Reeve as Superman. You know, like he's like the bar, isn't he? You have to reach, and I think Downey Jr.'s reached that bar, and I'd say a few of the other MCU actors have as well. I'll probably put Chris Evans in there as Cap and Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. You know, they've set the bar so high for those characters that anyone else coming in to fill those shoes is going to have a hard time, I think.
And not directly a superhero character, but I would also throw in, because bringing up the perfect comic book casting, J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson and Spider.
Yeah. He'd be up there, yeah. Pay it for what? Standing there. He's great, isn't it? Yeah, I think. I'd probably put Tom Hiddleston as Loki in that category as well, actually.
Yeah, I would. Totally.
But
I never would have considered it, but it would kind of. I've always been one who, and I've said this on the show with, Adam and Travis, that I'm a firm believer in characters are more iconic than the actors, and the characters should be around.
Yes.
And I would like to see another Stark because I would like for the character to be around. But that doesn't, how do I want to word it? Like, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're right. They do have whoever comes next as Stark. Whoever comes next as Stark, whoever comes next as Logan, Wolverine.
I think that's going to be the next. That's going to be the next one, isn't it?
They have big shoes to fill and high expectations to meet.
Yeah, totally.
Definitely.
But as spoiler alert for Endgame, I don't know how we're going to bring back Stark unless we do a time travel thing or alternate universe thing or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, I think
at least with Cap at the end, if the comics for the last couple of years, they did old man Steve Rogers, so they could, there is a way.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think Marvel will be lucky to get another 10, 11 years out of this franchise the way it is now. I think when you're losing Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans as those two iconic characters, filling those shoes, I think it's going to be quite hard.
Yeah.
So don't get me wrong, there's some great characters still in there and great actors, but if they don't quite fill those shoes, then they'll diminish a little. But do you know what I mean? I'm just thinking 11 years' time are we still going to be as
something as well? Like people are not talking about a lot is that the Sony Spider-Man contract is up after the next film.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, but I mean, I think it's expected that deal will probably get renewed because it's been quite successful. But at the same time, you just don't know. Sony might turn around and go, well, thank you, Tom Holland. You want all this money?
I'm sure.
Go and star in that Spider-Man film.
I think Sony is going to play nice because
I think they are as well. Yeah, and they're making money off other Spider-Man properties without Spider-Man. So if they continue to do that, they're just going to have the cake and eat it too out there and just be like, well, yeah, you can have him back. Pay us that X% you were paying us, maybe raise it a bit, whatever.
And I know we're supposed to be talking about Iron Man, but about Venom for a moment. I was excited and hyped for that movie.
Yeah.
But I was also worried because I was like, how are they going to do? Could they do the Venom origin story without Spider-Man in it?
That was my worry as well, but
yeah, no, you were going to say it perfectly. I think that they did it fantastically. I'm not saying that I want them to retcon the comics to follow that. No, leave the Marvel, stop touching the comics.
Yeah.
And trying to make them like the movies. Do your own thing.
And Dan's not seen Venom, so maybe when we see Venom, when Dan
I'm not doing this podcast anymore.
I was just going to say, maybe when Dan's seen Venom, maybe we could have you back on for Venom.
I wasn't that impressed by the trailer, I still watched it and I thought, I don't want to this. Even though it's supposed to be good.
Let's leave Venom talk. Right, Ryan, you're coming back on for Venom. It's done.
Yes.
Right. So, back to Iron Man then. So, obviously, I think we talk about perfect casting. I think you talk about perfect origin movies, Superman the movie. Well, I say perfect, but raising the bar. Superman the movie, Batman Begins. I think Iron Man's filming in there.
Oh, definitely, without a doubt.
I think it's one of the top tier level ones. I don't know if there's. I won't say it's perfect. There are a few moments I will talk about as we go on that are maybe a little bit. Maybe they've not aged as well, but it's very, very little, and I think even the effects still look pretty good.
Yeah,
I would say. In a way, seeing how the universe has gone and it's become like so big and stuff, you kind of almost go back to this and you kind of feel a bit like, I kind of missed that little pocket, where it was like it wasn't quite a universe. It's like when I rewatched Incredible Hulk the other day and they're talking about like the super soldier serum and stuff, and those little hints to Cap get you a bit excited and tingly, before it actually saw the Cap movie and stuff. And there's something kind of innocent and nice about those. It's a bit like when you watch the early seasons of Smallville, and there's some little teasers to becoming Superman, and then as it goes on, it gets more comic booky, and you kind of get that stuff. But
I was going to be thinking more Arrow. Think back to the first 2-3 seasons of Green Arrow, and
what I'm saying is, you get excited the thought of these little things happening, and then when they happen, you kind of become a bit like used to it. But when you go back and you remember your mindset when you were in that thought, it's kind of nice to go back there. If that makes sense.
And I remember having a very innocent thought and talk with my dad back in 2010, early 2011, when we had 2 Iron Man movies, a Hulk movie, the Cap movie was coming, the Captain America movie was coming out, and yet I remember telling my father, guy builds an armored suit, a guy turns into a giant green monster, got a super soldier. But how are they going to do magic and gods? That's just such a weird concept. I don't know if they're going to be able to pull this off.
They've done it, aren't they?
I was thinking about that the other night, about how they change stuff up, because I remember watching Guardians of the Galaxy and saying to you, Bob, how the hell are they going to mix these in? And then Thor Ragnarok came out, and straight away you were like, they've just done it.
Yeah,
I think the way that
exactly how they can do it.
The way that I'm sorry, I keep interrupting you guys.
No, it's all right. Go
on.
Yeah, well, I think.
My apologies are half.
Don't worry about it. We all know.
I know that oddly enough, my dad kind of struggled with how the MCU portrayed him, because at least how I've always interpreted is the MCU portrays the gods and Asgardians as aliens, kinda. We're just not going to call them. We're just not going to call them aliens.
Yeah, they're a bit like Kryptonians.
A little bit, yeah. They can, aliens that live for thousands of years.
Yeah.
But and like in the Dark World, or it's either the Dark World or First Thor, where he says that Magic is just science that you don't understand yet.
Yeah. So. And I heard Michael Dougherty, who's the director who did Trick or Treat and he's done the new Godzilla. Mm-hmm. He was on a podcast I used to listen to called The Movie Crypt, and he said he believes in magic and he just thinks it's science that we don't understand yet. And I think like that's exactly what you're saying, aren't you? And I'm like,
exactly.
When he said it at the time, I thought, I'm like, because we can't understand it, we can't believe it. But if it is actually just a science,
because I think back, like sense. Think to our smartphones, think to cars and planes and all that. Now take that stuff and let's time travel back to the 1700s.
Yeah,
they would think that this stuff was magical or otherworldly.
Yeah, so. Exactly. Yeah. So,
are you telling me Thor's real? Is that what you're saying?
Thor #confirmed. Thor is 100% real. and I
my wife
finally have a god bod.
So I knowing as well what happens in Endgame, which we said we'd spoil, so when Tony dies and stuff. I kind of, when I went back and watched Iron Man, I got a little bit like, not emotional, but I felt a bit like, oh, I know how this story ends now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost kind of like, I want to stay in that movie. You know what I mean? When I watch it, I'm like, I want to stay in this moment when I know it's all good. And you think about the trouble he has with the villain. Think later when he's fighting Thanos and he's got like that all, not even in Endgame, in Infinity War, and he's got all like the nanotech, and it keeps going back on and he keeps fighting him, and you're like, to think he would one day do that after struggling so badly against, I think he's called Ironmonger, isn't he? Obadiah Still's character.
Ironmonger.
Do you know what I mean? And you think like, how far does he come in the universe? And I mean, obviously, as each film goes, as the films go on, it keeps updating his technology, doesn't it, to fight? And what happens in Avengers, it leads to what all the tech being changed, doesn't it, in Ultron and stuff like that, and. When you actually think about the whole story, going back to the first one, you can see, how the story goes. It really makes like an impact on this film as well, which I think it actually boosts it up, which it was already pretty high anyway. Mm-hmm. A level to what it is. So I don't know how you want to do this and stuff, because do you want to just talk about like what some of your favorite moments in the film and in general, like what stands out to you even watching it now?
I think I'll just go first because you know me with my memory, but I'm just thinking of one scene off at the top of my head. Obviously, is Escape.
When he gets taken. See, that's my favourite.
Yeah, the way he escapes and he's building up the suit, and it's all that. What do we call these kind of movies? What are these movies called? The origin movies. You just love that. That's the thing in it. You love the build up.
Yeah,
it's kind of like when you think to end the game. Now you think, oh god, it's so sad that it's kind of over for Tony. That's the end of his journey. So you love to go back and watch the beginning again and watch the start and how he builds it up, and just that whole bit where he comes out and he's just smashing them into side at the rock and the cave and stuff, and
he gets stuck.
And and like the flamethrowers and things like that, and that's just. To say this was the first one, that scene is unbelievable, I think.
Yeah, it's really good.
And it's still, to me, it still stands up even with Endgame and Infinity War and stuff
like that. Dan, the second week in a row, you've took my favourite moment. You did it in Endgame last week, you kid.
I didn't do it on purpose this week, though.
So, Ryan, do you want to pick a moment or a scene that stands out or anything?
I think my favourite sequence in this whole movie... it has to be. I forgot what the name of the Middle Eastern country is that it kind of starts off in. I don't think it's supposed to be Gulmir or something, or maybe that's the name of a city. Okay, what I'm trying to get at. I think
that's why he goes back to later, doesn't he?
Yeah, that's my favorite scene is when he finally gets the Mark III armor and he flies back to the city to take out the Jericho missiles and he fights the terrorists.
On IMDb,
that was the next scene I was going to pick.
On IMDb, it says he's in a cave in Iraq. That's not unless it's a city within Iraq that he goes
I think
it's possibly
not a fictional country, but.
I didn't even know it was a country till I thought they were making it up. I'd never heard of the place that he goes to.
Like after watching Endgame and Infinity War and seeing all the effects and whatnot of today, the effects and CG for 2007, 2008 for that scene. I don't think there's any moment in this movie where the CGI looks wonky or it looks dated.
No.
I think it's still over 10 years later. I think it still looks really damn good.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously you can tell it's CGI, but
I think compared to now, it looks kind of not quite real, but it still looks really good. And I would say we've got to think back because I was watching a video earlier, funny enough, and when Iron Man was coming out, there wasn't that much hype until they surprised everyone at Comic-Con with the trailer, and everyone was like, "Oh my god, that looks amazing!"
Well, because probably people thought, maybe more my mindset of either who is this character or because didn't they consider Iron Man to be like a C-lister? Before
nobody knew who he was, did they? That's what I say to people. Like Thor, nobody knew who Thor was either. I knew who he was, but people I spoke to like, who's Thor? Who's Iron Man? Like you will, now.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'll have to pick a scene then, so you two stole my scene. I quite like the scene when he first makes the prototype suit, like the not the one in the cave, the one he makes later, and he flies up too high in it, and when he crashes through and that thing sprays him. I still laughed as much as I did the first time I saw it, and I watched it.
It's great.
That running joke is so good in this film. Was they build it up, don't they? Because there's a few moments there in the film, and he's like, don't spray me, and then he just turns around and then just sprays.
I miss that little robot. I remember, it's all in all the movies. I love that little arm robot, whatever you called it.
Absolutely brilliant. Well, this is obviously the one that kind of created the Marvel formula, for the origins. Like Ant-Man is pretty much Iron Man and it redone, and I love Ant-Man as well. It's not a knock on Ant-Man. They've reused this template, but I still think this one's done it the best.
Yeah.
When you look at, because this is like the template for the Marvel origin movies, which they've all, even Thor. There's a lot of similarities when you watch all the other ones. This is still
and Captain America: First Avenger too.
Yeah, and it's like I think some of the other ones missed the point and they kind of overdid the comedy and stuff. And I think this one, the comedy felt more natural and they did it at the right moments. And I mean, there's a few bits like when he's fighting Obadiah Stane and he's saying a couple of cheesy one-liners. You kind of think, well, maybe that's not aged that well when he's like, I've been holding you up for years and all that kind of thing. I think he says something else as well. It's only a couple of occasions when they're fighting. I think that's probably the only thing I would say. But other than that, it's pretty much like a 10 out of 10. But it's maybe like more like a 9.8 out of 10, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like there's just a few tiny things, but maybe that's more looking back now than when we watched it then.
I think one of the things, and we actually discussed this, bro, before, because I remember you saying Marvel had a bad guy problem at one stage, and I think that that is one of the issues with maybe all the Marvel films. The bad guys weren't that impressive until Thanos came. Obviously, excluding Loki, obviously, because he's great.
Well, I personally thought Red Skull was really good as well, but I just don't think we got enough of him. But you got a lot of them ones like this where it's basically Iron Man versus Iron Man and Ant-Man versus Ant-Man, Black Panther versus Black Panther.
I always kind of think like you kind of probably have to do that for the first movie.
Yeah.
Because it's...
I agree, yeah. Because you've got to as well. You've got to give him a foe who can stand toe-to-toe, so it's like, well, that person has to have similar abilities. And
or else you get... If you're right. You have to stay. The hero has to stand toe to toe with the villain, or else you get something like Superman the movie, which we love. I think we all three of us love. But the big climax of that movie is Superman chasing rockets. And,
It's a different time as well, though, isn't it? But and you kind of have to build up your villains, don't you, to like your bigger and better ones and stuff, and the ones that can do different. I mean, even Iron Man, like. Iron Man 2, he basically fights like a not as good Tony, with, what's his name? Justin Hammer. Well, I was thinking Justin Hammer, Justin Hammer and Ivan Vinko combined to kind of like Tony, aren't they?
Yeah,
one's a rich, guy, blah, 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 one's inventor and stuff. Obviously, Iron Man 3 changed it up a bit, but, you kind of have to kind of build your villains up and, I think Ant-Man and the Wasp, didn't he fight like another Ant-Man in a sense? Like she can go small and stuff as well, or is that not the case?
I don't...
No, it's
I've not seen it. Yeah.
Very different. Can I just tell you guys? Sorry, I just spotted on IMDb in Argentina, Mexico, Peru, Uruguay, and Venezuela. It's called Iron Man: El Hombre de Hierro. I might have totally butchered that, but I thought it was quite funny.
Oh my god!
I thought it might be called that in Spain as well, but it's just called Iron Man in Spain. Disappointed.
But yeah, I think this film surprised a lot of people when it came out back in the day. Well, like it was like a fair because it did really well, didn't it? It went. I don't know what the box office. I'll tell you what. I'll have a quick look now. Actually, while I'm on the Wikipedia page. So it made 585.2 mil, which I think it might be domestic. I think that might be domestic.
That's worldwide. 585. Yeah.
What was its budget?
Domestic? It made 318.4.
What
was the budget?
140.
Okay.
So it's done like 3 times there on it, and then some. Maybe 4. Okay. Yeah, but yeah. Anyway, so it was a successful hit, and I think a lot of people weren't expecting it to be as good as it was.
No, probably not.
And then I think and obviously Downey Jr. The success of this led to Iron Man 2, which wasn't as good of a film, but a lot of people went to see Iron Man 2 as a result of loving Iron Man 1. And that didn't affect when they did Avengers, which I think Downey Jr. was a massive part of why Avengers made $1 billion.
I'll tell you what, I forgot about this as well. That there's a guest appearance from somebody who also works on the film, and it's the kid from A Christmas Story.
Is he?
Oh, yeah.
Peter Billingsley.
He's the one that Stain yells at Tony Stark built us in a cave with a box of scraps.
Oh, is that what he was yelling at?
Yeah. It was little Ralphie.
I like that scene. I always like his delivery on that. With box of scraps. See, I think Jeff Bridges does a really good job in this as the villain as well. Like,
yeah, I like this.
The moment when he turns on Tony, it's really good. It's really cleverly done.
He doesn't become scenery chewing until he puts on the Ironmonger suit.
Yeah, that's when he starts to get a bit
like even when he's in the basement lab and Tony's dying and tormenting him, he's still like kind of keeps it a little subdued, a little.
Yeah. Well, at first he kind of makes out he's doing it for him, doesn't he? But
I think it's meant to be the suit and the power in it. It just straight goes to his head then.
Yeah,
that's what they're getting at, aren't they?
Yeah. So just moving on from Iron Man, just a little segue. Iron Man 2 and 3. What do you think about the sequels? Just taking out like Avengers movies and stuff. Just Iron Man 2 and Iron Man 3.
Last time I watched Iron Man 2, I thought the film needed to be kind of swapped. I think the first half is really good, and it has you have your big battle, and then I felt the second half was a bit slower, and then the battle at the end is kind of a bit anticlimactic. It's not. Yeah. It's nowhere near as big as the battle.
I think they went a bit too jokey in some points as well. Like when he's like, Rhodey tries to use that cannon thing, and he's like, "Oh, let me guess, hammer tech and stuff like that." It kind of went a bit too.
I can't remember it that much, but I do remember thinking that about it. But I did just buy it again because I want to watch out for movies. So I even bought Thor 2 as well because I just thought I want to watch them all now. As for 3, I'm one of the people that actually really liked it. I thought it was really good, and I think looking back to Tony and what happened to him in Avengers, and then seeing that, you kind of see the aftermath and how he felt. And I know some people didn't like that, but I think now you look back at what happens in Infinity War and Endgame, and it makes so much more sense, I think, now as well. And it all kind of ties in better.
Ryan,
that's just my quick thoughts.
Yeah, Ryan, what do you think of Iron Man 2 and Iron Man 3?
Iron Man 2, I get where people, probably lump it in with like Thor: Dark World and maybe Hulk as maybe the weaker. I don't think there's any bad MCU movie.
No, I don't.
I do think there are weaker ones, but they're also, I would still consider the weaker ones to be like in the B, range if we were going to do like a letter scale. I do feel like for Iron Man 2 that the final battle with Iron Man and War Machine fighting the drones was fun. I love that whole scene.
Yeah.
But the actual fight with Whiplash, both fights seemed a little too.
It's anticlimactic, isn't it?
Yeah, a little anticlimactic, a little short. I just thought that was a cool idea. I think the electrified whips is a great and fantastic visual, and I just kind of wish that there had been more done with that.
Well, I think that scene on the racetrack's pretty good, isn't it?
It is, and I love the suitcase suit. It's one of my guilty pleasure favorite Iron Man.
Yeah, I like it. It looks like one that's not quite the proper suit, but it's like
for emergencies.
Yeah.
Thing.
Do you kind of think outside? Sorry to interrupt you. Outside Iron Man 1, his best moments actually come outside Iron Man movies.
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
so that's what I'm just thinking. Sorry, Ryan, you were talking about Iron Man 3, weren't you?
And as for Iron Man 3, on the Iron Man side of things, I wish he was in the suit more.
Yeah, I agree.
I understand that.
But then again, these movies, had been so successful in making me care about the character of Stark that at the end of the day, I'm fine with it. It's just me being a greedy and wanting to see more of the awesome suits. And also, I do want to take a moment to kind of maybe have another hot take comment, but I really love that from Iron Man to even probably Spider-Man Homecoming, the way that he puts on the suits and whatnot, where it closes in around him.
Yeah,
I am not a fan of the nanotech. I get because it's quick and easy and whatever, but starting with even Black Panther, Infinity War, Endgame, I don't like the idea of the nanotech.
Fair enough.
Because I think
I get what you mean. I get what you mean.
Yeah, because there is something so cool about seeing the armor close in around him.
Yeah.
Whether or not it was robotic arms putting the armor on, or if it was just the armor was just one piece and then it opens up and then closes in around. Yeah. That's just me personally, kind of a nitpick. Yeah.
We're not here for opinions all the same. We like different opinions.
Because I look back at the Iron Man movies, the first two Avengers movies, and I think about kind of the tech and the technology where it was still fantastical and still you don't see this kind of stuff in the real world. A genius in the comic book world would create something like this, but then I guess it's some kind of line in the sand I've subconsciously drew for myself, where the nanotech where the nanotechnology, and I think even to the point of the nanotech for Wakanda and how all that stuff works.
A step too
far. A little too far-fetched. I get that this is a comic book world and that these are all super smart, intelligent people, so they're going to have the best technology, and maybe even technology we don't see prominently, or we don't even have yet. But then, you're right, nanotechnology, I think, might be a step too far.
Yeah, I get that. I think there's sometimes there's a certain logic to something you can buy, and there's certain logic you just can't, and maybe that's just, like I say, a step too far for you.
Yeah. It doesn't take away my enjoyment, but if I had to be a little bit nitpicky and start thinking.
Fine, nothing wrong with that. So I will say Iron Man 2, I think, like Dan said, it's a bit of a mixed bag. I think it's kind of some good bits. I actually think ScarJo probably steals Iron Man 2 in that one scene with starting with Happy Feet.
Oh, yes.
That's a great scene. But Iron Man 3, for me, I just thought it was a bit too jokey, and it was the bit when he calls his suit and it doesn't quite make it to him and it collapses and stuff, and it was what are you doing? And I kind of think that Guy Pearce Mandarin twist, it was funny with Trevor Slattery and the whole. It was funny. It made me laugh. But then afterwards, it's one of them where it makes me laugh at the time. But then when I think about it later, I'm actually, it's a bit lame, isn't it?
I do have to. Villain. I do have to ask. I do want to ask you guys, because nowadays I kind of would sympathize with the people who were upset about the Mandarin twist. But back when Iron Man 3 did come out, I had no connection to the man. I knew who the character was, but I had no.
I knew him from the cartoon.
Yeah. But were you guys upset that all the build up to Kingsley being the Mandarin wasn't? Do
you know what I thought? I think the trailers for Iron Man 3 sold a completely different film to what we got. I thought it was going to be this a bit more serious and a little bit more higher stakes, and I didn't think it was. I thought when it actually came down to it, it was pretty much just a bit of a let's make everyone laugh opportunity for most of it. And I didn't like this whole, the whole like when he designed the Mandarin guy, and he like glows orange and stuff. I didn't like that. I thought that were a bit weird. I was a bit like, that's one of those things that's like a step too far.
And then he immediately gets punched out by a extremist-powered pepper.
Yeah. I thought once you found out Guy Pearce was the Mandarin, it would have been cheesy.
Yeah.
But other than that, it was one of them films where, do you know, you sometimes just put on a film and you don't deliberately go in open-minded, but you just sat there and just taking it in and enjoying it. And it was like that for me with Iron Man 3. I think if I'd have seen it with a bit of expectation, and I don't know why I wasn't expecting it up, but I just want, maybe somebody had told me they didn't like it.
It still has a lot of cool, like the whole...
Yeah.
Maybe not necessarily Tony's fight with... I forgot what the character, Guy Pearce's character. Not talking about that, but just seeing all the different suits fighting around.
Yeah.
And one little nerd moment for me was seeing Robert Downey, if only for like a minute, wearing the Silver Centurion suit. I thought that was kind of cool because I had known of that suit from reading comics.
Yeah, I think it's much like when you watch like the Superman 3, Superman 4, Christopher Reeve's still really good in them. And Downey Jr. is still really good in these two Iron movies, and they're not like bad movies, but they're not at the level of the first one. And I think that's the weird thing with the Iron Man franchise to me. It's like the two most, they made more and more money as they went on. Like the third one was the $1 billion one, wasn't it? But it's like I think pretty much everyone agrees the first one's the best, and I actually ran a poll on it, and Iron Man won 83%. What's your favorite Iron Man film? 2% Iron Man 2, 15% Iron Man 3. It's pretty much unanimous that Iron Man, the first film, is the best one. And I think how good Iron Man 1 was is why the MCU built to that level of making $1 billion movies. It all started with Iron Man, and I think a lot of the credit needs to go to Downey Jr.'s performance and what Jon Favreau did with this movie, with the first Iron Man. If you'd agree with that.
Yeah, I'll tell you what.
Easily. Yeah.
I'll tell you what surprised me. I didn't realise we got Iron Man, Incredible Hulk, and then Iron Man 2. I thought we got Thor next, not Iron Man.
Thor was after that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because Iron Man 2 had a stinger for Thor, didn't it, with the hammer?
Yeah, it had, with Coulson going to New Mexico.
And I wanted to mention this.
Yeah.
Great cameo from Stan Lee in Iron Man as Hugh Hefner.
Yeah.
That was, I thought that was absolutely, I remember laughing at the time. I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah, really good.
I love his cameo in Thor when he's the truck driver and they're all trying to pull the hammer out.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
I'm trying to think what was his cameo in Iron Man 2.
We talked about his cameo last week. Do you have a favourite Stan Lee cameo, Ryan?
Yeah, it's from it's the one from There's never been a bad Stanley cameo, even when they've been like ultra cheesy. It's Stanley, so I let it go. But if I had to be honest, my all-time favorite is Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah, that was my
he's the librarian putting the books away, and all you hear is the opera music while Spider-Man and the lizards fight in the background. I love.
No, Dan, you said Teen Titans Go to the movies.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
That was brilliant.
That was I thought that was cool,
clever, wasn't it?
Yeah, and he's like, this is a DC movie. Then later he's like, I don't care as long as I get my.
I love cameos. It's like that was great that DC and Warner Brothers got him. To do that.
Yeah, that definitely made me laugh the most, just because I was like, hey, this is a DC movie. What's going on?
Yeah, and as I said on last episode, I think it showed what Stan Lee. There was no divide for him. There was no DC Marvel thing. It was he just loved like comic book characters, and I mean, he even said himself he was a huge Superman fan, wasn't he? And a Batman fan and stuff. So
yeah, they probably helped inspire him.
They did. He admitted it. He admitted a lot of his characters are basically based on DC characters. That's why.
Wasn't the Fantastic Four?
That was a reaction.
He was inspired to the Justice League. Yeah.
He wanted a team of superheroes, so he created a Fantastic Four. And I think pretty early on he teamed in with Spider-Man, like either in first or second issue or something, as well. So, yeah. So I wanted to ask you that as well. So that's quite good that we got that in there. So, just any last thoughts on Iron Man before we wrap up? Have you got anything you want to say about the movie? Or
just off the top of my head, I think it's the best origin movie that they've done at Marvel Universe. I can't think that I've seen
in the MCU.
Yeah. Sorry. What did I just say?
You just said the Marvel Universe. I didn't know if you meant all of the Marvel films as well, like this Raimi Spider-Mans and all that and stuff. And
could probably include it, to be fair, for me.
I would put that top tier I was talking about earlier. I would put the Raimi Spider-Man in that top tier of origins as well. I think that belongs up there.
Mm-hmm. I would personally put Captain America: First Avenger up there as well.
Yeah. See that this is what I'll say, right? Because I'm a Cap guy. Captain America: The First Avenger is probably my favourite MCU origin, but Iron Man is probably still the best movie of them all. I think this is the one where I think I can see why everyone likes this movie. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Whereas I think if someone actually came to me at First Avenger and they said, I think maybe parts of it are a bit slow and stuff, I can kind of understand that, even though I don't feel that way myself.
I know you like Cap a lot.
Yeah, and if someone said to me they didn't like Iron Man, I'd be like, do you not like movies? Do you know what I mean?
Did someone not hug you as a kid?
Because after Iron Man for me, it was always Thor, because I loved Thor.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't like that Thor movie. I think it's great.
Really? People don't like the first one?
No, honestly, it's really...
Because I do not agree at all, but I can kind of understand why people might not like Ragnarok or something, but
because they don't like that kind of movie because it's funny and stuff. Which all the Thor movies are kind of a bit like Marmite. You either like them or you don't.
Mm-hmm.
Needs to be kind of basis on them. So Ryan, have you got anything finally you want to say on Iron Man before we wrap up?
I think it really did help me want to start actually read comics. Probably one of the first movies that made me. I would, oddly enough, and this might be weird company to put it in, but I put it up with all right, don't laugh at me yet. Let me explain. Up there with Green Lantern and Captain Marvel, in that I was so impressed and enjoyed the movie so much that it made me want to go out and read the comics.
That makes sense, yeah.
And the first...
I'm glad we'll let you finish that sentence.
Yes, please. Let me finish the sentence.
We were just saying a minute ago about how big 2008 was for comic book. I reckon a lot of comic book movie fans were born into comic book, the way introduced it. In 2008, because they must have watched The Dark Knight Iron Man and thought, my God, is it this good? It's as good every time.
Superhero movies can be good?
I might have found something that might change my mind. And I know what Bob thinks, but Ryan, is Guardians of the Galaxy an origin movie? The first one.
An origin of the team.
Yeah, I think it's an origin of the team. Not
So would you count that?
I think you've got to count it.
If you're doing it as a list, so you're doing all your origin movies as Guardians of the Galaxy count?
Yeah, I think so.
If I count Guardians of the Galaxy, then I would also...
It's kind of like... I think the first X-Men is like that.
But Avengers, they've already got their own origins.
Yeah.
But I look at it as the origin of the team. This is how the team came together. Not the origin of the...
I think Guardians is more in... company with Iron Man than Avengers, personally.
If I was just going to say, if you're going to include it with Iron Man, all the origin movies, then that would be my number 2, just ahead of Thor, because it's brilliant.
Yeah, and I think Guardians is probably one of the best ones as well.
It's great. Isn't it? But like you say, because it's a team, it's a bit hard to judge it.
I think it's a bit like
they're all on their own.
It's a bit like the first X-Men, where it's not.
Yeah.
It's a bit of an origin, but it's not the same.
Because it's a team.
Yeah, it's a funny one.
Then you get into the whole debate, if you're okay with X-Men and Guardians, then why do, Justice League and Avengers, why do they have to have solo movies? And it's because I think some characters that make up the Avengers, make up the Justice League, they can support big cinematic stories on their own, while like the Guardians and the X-Men, what do I think they can? Yeah, but it's like yes and no.
I know what you're getting at.
Yeah, like would Disney put down, 200 Disney and Marvel Studios put down $200 million towards a Drax movie, or when they bring the X-Men over, whenever they start working with the X-Men, would they put $200 down for a Cyclops movie where it's just him?
Yeah. See, I think as well with DC, you could have probably done Justice League out the gate with them because Batman and Superman are so iconic, whereas like Dan was saying about Iron Man was seen as a bit of a C-lister until his movie. Mm-hmm. You kind of had to do the origin movies, didn't you? And it's like, who would have thought a character like Captain America would become so popular worldwide, not just in America? Because I know there was a bit of snobbery to what, like a bit of frowning with like, oh, his name's Captain America, blah blah blah.
I remember reading and hearing about articles in 2011 that Marvel was kind of worried about releasing the movie internationally as Captain America. They were thinking about doing it as only called the First Avenger. But then, like,
I think it was in some it was called that in Germany, I think, wasn't it?
Well, then there were like there were some countries that they're like worried about, and their international theater chains were like, no, please call it Captain America.
And yet for me in the cinema, the only time I've ever heard people cheer was when Captain America arrived in Infinity War. They actually cheered. People were cheering in the cinema. I've never heard that in my entire, because over in Britain, we're a bit quiet in the cinema. You know what I mean? But not very.
You guys have class.
Yeah, there's not a lot, like you hear about these American shows where everyone's hollering and cheering, and you don't really get that as much over here.
Sometimes you're lucky if you get the audience laughing.
Yeah,
I'm like, what's wrong with them?
Don't get me wrong, I've had some great cinema experiences, right? Stuff like Freddy vs. Jason was one of the best cinema experiences of my entire life.
All right, you got to explain that one to me. How?
What I'll do is just to quickly get into it, just the way the people in the cinema were interacting with the screen was what you only get in horror movies, them kind of horror movies. Yeah. But Captain America's the only time I've ever heard anyone like big massive cheer in the cinema. I heard a lot of sniffling in Endgame after Tony had died.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did.
And then when Cap handed his shield to Sam, there was one guy clapping and one guy shouted, "On your own, mate," because it only would have clapped. So yeah, but back to Iron Man. I just think this without this film, like Dan says, there's no MCU. This was the one that started it all. If they'd have started with any of the others, I don't know if it would have had the same impact. It had to start with Iron Man.
Yeah, are we going to talk about the last scene, the end credit scene now?
Yeah, well, we can talk about it quickly now before we wrap up. So,
do you want to say
know
what
that was just a gag at the time? It wasn't to be taken seriously. They just did it as a bit of a gag.
Because I was going to say, I heard there wasn't any plan with Iron Man to do any more, but then that's at the end, and you're like, well, it must have been a plan.
No. Well, what happened was
Samuel L. Jackson surely ain't just going to come and do that.
There was a comic called The Ultimates, which is Ultimate Avengers, and they made all the characters look like actors. Like I think Cap looked like Brad Pitt, and Nick Fury looks like Samuel L. Jackson, and that's why they got Samuel L. Jackson. And literally, it was just a gag. And Jon Favreau even said he wasn't sure if we were going to put it in the final cut or not, and he did. And then look where we are now.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing that at cinema and thinking that was pretty cool, and it was just literally just saying, I want to talk to you about the Avengers Initiative. That's literally it, isn't it? Or whatever it says.
He's like, I think his whole line of dialogue is, I am, quoting Stark, I am Iron Man. You think you're the only superhero in the world, but you're part of a larger universe. You just don't know it yet, or something like that.
And then he says, I want to talk to you about the Avengers Initiative or something, does it? Yeah. So that was a bit more than I remembered.
That's what I mean. If, like you're saying, it's a gag now, but then when I'm watching it overnight, I was thinking, well, they must have planned it, because is he saying it right now?
No,
it's
but
the end of the first movie.
But listen, right, MCU have set some little things up in movies as well that they've abandoned, and it makes me wonder, was it one of those, let's just put it in there and see how people react to it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's what it was.
Like Incredible Hulk set up, the leader, and I'm still waiting for that to be paid
the leader.
off.
I thought we were supposed to get Captain America and the Serpent Society instead of Civil War, but when Warner Brothers announced Batman vs Superman, Marvel were like, I think we need to do something. They've admitted to it.
No,
Kevin Feige said when they announced that, we knew we had to do something bigger. That's what he said. I'm not saying that they went, let's do, hero versus hero because they're doing it, but they definitely, there was a quote and he said when they announced they were doing that and they knew it was going to be big, they knew they had to go bigger than Captain America versus the Serpent Society. So that's actually a thing. So they didn't make the Serpent Society, and then there's little things like
I don't believe you, Bob. I don't believe you.
I know. Well, it's true. I'll find quotes. Send it to you.
I'm just looking at it like the eyes half closed, like.
And then it's like the Red Skull wasn't supposed to be what he became, when he was part of that Soul Realm and stuff. Hugo Weaving was originally going to come back for the Avengers, and Hugo Weaving.
You just saying stuff like that, like how big is this? What we've experienced? It's
and then you've got the Hail to the King short film, which is the real Mandarin.
Yeah.
Not Guy Pearce, the actual Mandarin, isn't happy that Trevor Slattery was using his name. So there was kind of setting up an Iron Man 4, and you think, well, what if they'd have done that? And so they have set things up to jump on. And like Peggy Carter's, is it a niece, Sarah Carter? Is that right?
Sharon.
Sharon,
Sharon Carter,
she was supposed to have a bigger role, and then they kind of abandoned that after a certain point.
Yeah, they had her and Steve hook up in Civil War.
Yeah, so there's all these things that they've tried there because people haven't reacted the way they wanted to, and they've kind of think, well, we'll just pull back a little bit on that. And
somebody mentioned that basically they were like, all right, so could that potentially be his niece if he goes back in time now?
Hey, if he doesn't know it doesn't
matter. The MCU hasn't been. It's been fantastic and amazing and wonderful, and there have been missteps, things that I would have liked to have seen differently. Like with how big Hydra was set up in both First Avenger and then Winter Soldier. To have them dispatched within the first 20 minutes of Age of Ultron. Like I'd always kind of wished that Hydra had, stuck around for more movies or something. AIM, what they did in Iron Man 3, okay, we're just going to use AIM for just one movie and then never again. But I'm still waiting for if I could ask Kevin Feige just give me one thing, it would be MODOK. That's
yeah.
I just want to see MCU MODOK.
Yeah.
While we're talking about the MC universe, who do we think they're going to go to next as the big bad guy? I've seen somebody.
Galactus.
Yeah, that's what I want.
I think Galactus is going to be the next one
that'll be a
start
while
building up to.
Yeah.
I think the next.
They'll introduce Fantastic Four first. What they go from there.
I think they're going to do it. If I was going to make suggestions to Marvel, like they'll ever listen to me, but have Doom be the next big villain, but Galactus is the next one we spend several movies building up
so
to.
he's the Thanos, but Doom's like Loki in the first Avengers.
That'd be a good idea, because they were the two in the video I watched. They were the two that mentioned who could be the next big bad guy. So you could potentially use them both, like you say.
Mm-hmm. Or I was thinking other ones that they could use that are not as well known. Krang the Conqueror. Maybe Annihilus.
I don't
know these two are. So.
You don't know Krang? Oh my God! Look up Krang and.
The only Krang I know is from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
It looks a bit like him.
I'm not thinking Krang. I think it's Kang the Conqueror.
Oh, is it Kang?
Oh. Kang. Yeah, sorry, my bad.
So just quickly,
a lot of people have just switched off.
Avengers Endgame has surpassed Titanic with a global total of $2.13 billion.
Mm-hmm.
Avatar obviously is the next one to hit.
Avatar on your left.
2.78 billion. I think it's going to do it. But more interestingly, Avengers.
It will if Ryan keeps going to the cinema to see it.
Yeah, but I gotta keep supporting it.
Avengers got to 2 billion in 11 days. It took Avatar 47 days to get to 2 billion. So it just shows you the juggernaut this movie is. And that was definitely a pun as well, juggernaut.
I did see, just going back to what we're saying, because somebody will think I'm an idiot, but I did see a video where somebody looked like Krang. Out of the Turtles, he looked like him. He was a Marvel character, but I don't know who he was.
Oh, God. Who cares?
But anyway, in case anybody is listening and wondering.
Final word on Iron Man for me is, if you haven't watched it for a long time, go back and watch it, because it's the one that started it all. And, maybe it'd be a good idea to just go back and watch and work your way through all these movies.
Mm-hmm.
Can I also readjust my rating last week from Endgame from a 9 to a 9.5?
Okay.
Because
I'm sticking at my 8.5 there.
I think it's a 9 point, because I didn't know whether I liked Infinity War or Endgame better, but I think it's a bit like Lord of the Rings. You can't really rate one movie; they're both. It's one story, and I think I underrate. And I was umming Aaron at the time, but I think it's a 9.5 because I think Iron Man is definitely a 9, and Iron Man isn't as good as those movies. As good as it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
If for me personally, if Avengers gets nominated for Best Picture or I almost called him Stark because he is just Tony Stark in real life. If Downey gets nominated for Best Actor, I'm not necessarily saying it just for Avengers Endgame, but treat it like how they did Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Treat it as just one massive performance, one massive franchise over a series of films. That's what I personally hope for.
I know that character is now. He's called MODOK.
Oh, that's what I said earlier.
It looks like Krang.
He's like a massive head in here somewhere.
Yeah, and I want to just be the massive head with the little tiny arms and legs.
I used to have this comic,
Kevin.
right, when I was a kid.
Oh, wait. Didn't they introduce somebody with that little, like, he's in that jail cell with,
the
little caterpillar guy. Who's he?
That's Shazam.
I'm thinking of film. I was thinking, what was that? The end of what film was that?
Yeah.
Wrong
at first I thought you were talking about Arnim Zola from Winter Soldier.
He didn't last long, did he?
I'll tell you what else might be coming. Into somebody called Adam somewhat sort of there.
Adam Warlock.
Adam Warlock. Yeah, they set him up in Guardians too.
See, just going back to MODOK, so I used to have a Captain America comic, and the front cover was the shield, and it was fighting the Hulk, and the Hulk's fist was punching the shield. It was my favorite comic covers. And in that story, the villain was MODOK, and I think he was like mind controlling the Hulk or something to fight Captain America. I remember it being a really good comic, actually. I should seek it out. The comic cover was Captain America holding his shield and Hulk's fist on it. It was such a good cover. I'll see if I can find it. Send you it. So, anyway, I guess that's a wrap up on Iron Man. I know we kind of detoured quite a bit, but maybe that's just the legacy Iron Man had, that we had to kind of talk about the future beyond Iron Man, to show how much we appreciate it and what we think of it. And, But
I also, I do think Iron Man would not even take away connections to the MCU to its legacy to today. I think as just a superhero film, I think it still stands on its own really well.
That's one of the things I say about this. Like, you've got to have watched previous movies to get what's happening in Infinity War and Endgame and stuff. But when it comes to a film like Iron Man, you can just literally shove this on and watch it.
Yeah, because it completely stands on its own. I think a lot of the Phase 1 movies can work like that. Even though even though Incredible Hulk has the Super Soldier Serum reference and Stark appears at the end, even though Captain America has, Howard Stark in it, you can just look at those things as just like little references to the comics. You don't need to have seen. Like, I think even weirdly enough, the first Avengers movie works that way, because I remember seeing that.
I agree with you. Yeah,
I remember seeing that with a friend of mine, and it was that movie. It was Avengers that got her wanting to go back and watch everything.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. Right then. So, Ryan, do you want to just give up your Twitter handle and all that, and plug your podcast?
Okay. If you want to come at me for my hot takes about Wakandan and Tony Stark technology, you can find me on Twitter at The Amazing Rye Guy. I also somewhat weekly co-host with our good friend Adam, Superhero and Sci-Fi Musings, and I'm also a somewhat regular, semi-regular, like once a month guest on Tales from the DC Multiverse.
Cool. Dan, do you want to plug your stuff?
Are we just talking with Twitter?
Yeah, just plug your Twitter, yeah. And then tell people where they can find this podcast as well.
Well, I'll tell you where you can find the podcast first, because I can't remember a Twitter handle. You can find the podcast on iTunes, YouTube, Podbean, and what's that one?
Stitcher, is it?
Stitcher, that's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can find us on there. My Twitter handle is @Marshall2000_UK.
Cool. And my Twitter handle is @SteveBob1984. And you can also follow the Twitter page for MBP Movie Podcast, which is @MBP Movie Pod. And if you want to leave us any questions right on there, any suggestions for the show, please do. And please leave us ratings and reviews on iTunes if you get a chance. And any disparaging comments about Ryan. So.
Because I haven't seen Karate Kid.
Yeah, because you haven't seen Karate Kid. So with that in mind, so long everybody.
See you later.
Take care. What is British Mexican food?
Well, I had a beef burger, so but everyone else were having like burritos and things, but it were awful. It used to be nice years ago, but we went. My wife did that Go Ape, which is like a climbing adventure thing, with her sister, and then we went out from dinner afterwards with her mum and her mum's boyfriend because it was like they wanted to have a dinner. And it was just crap.
Do you know what Go Ape is, Ryan?
No, I don't.
That one where you get in trees and you walk along like these wooden bridges, but you know, like they move about.
So
yeah, and you on like zip lines.
Ewoks,
like
you get to walk around Ewok Village or something.
Yeah. I'd probably look like one, mate. Put me in a bear suit. Only 5'5".